Welcome to Young Money, the advice show for millionaires in the making. It's time for some $1 Million Straight Talk with me, Tracy Bissett. My hands-on experience and formal financial education make me uniquely qualified to coach about all things money. Each week, I'm going to tell you what you need to know now at the beginning of your earning curve. Basic and advanced financial concepts made clear, healthy money habits, and the missteps to avoid, and all the stuff that you can do to set yourself up for a financially fit future. You'll hear from experts, your fellow millionaires in the making, and me. Ready to lace up and start this week's financial fitness training? Let's do it. Welcome to the Young Money Podcast. We have such a special guest today, Kim Cooper. Kim is the president of Youth Culture, Inc., a social enterprise that bridges the gap between youth and industry. She was the former vice president of partnerships at First Robotics Canada, a charity encouraging kids and youth in science, technology, engineering, and math, so STEM. She is also the author of the book Girls in Science, Voices for Change, Tips for Equality and Inclusion in Schools, Workplaces, and Communities. Kim was the co-chair of the Girls in STEM Executive Advisory Council and was recognized by Microsoft as an inspiring Canadian leader in business and technology. She's passionate about sharing the stories of underrepresented youth and is part of the movement to bring equity, diversity, and inclusivity into the STEM fields. Kim is a freelance writer for Scholastic Education on topics such as social justice and environmental issues, as well as a business instructor at Sheridan College. Kim's career experience ranges from editor of a kids magazine to digital producer for youth media. Her educational background is in business, writing, and Japanese. Kim is also a friend of mine, sister of my friend Tracy, and I am so excited that she's here today. Let's hear what she has to say. Welcome to the Young Money Podcast. I'm so excited. We have a very special guest today, Kim Cooper. Welcome to the show, Kim.
Thank you so much for having me, Tracy. This is exciting.
It is very exciting. And so for everybody listening, I've known Kim, I'm going to say about 20 years. I went to MBA school with her sister, Tracy, and we featured her nephew on the show many times, Ryan Banfield. So we're kind of keeping all of this in that family circle, which is great. And so I'd love it, Kim, if you can share with us what you do today, what kind of keeps you busy every day, and the nature of your business.
Sure. Yeah. So I just recently started my own company. It's called Youth Culture, Inc. And I started the company basically just shortly after COVID hit. And I became a little bit concerned about the increasing disconnect between youth and industry, and also finding other ways to amplify youth voice. So I started Youth Culture Inc. in hopes to increase the number of virtual engagements for youth to connect with industry. And then I've got a variety of other initiatives underway with youth culture. So that's how I've been spending most of my time, besides hanging out with my wonderful rescue dog.
Excellent. Yeah, we certainly have a love of dogs in common, which is awesome. They're such nice companions, and certainly during COVID. Now, when you talk about youth, I just want to be clear, and so the listeners know as well, what age range do you specify that to be?
Generally, high school up to about 22 or so.
Excellent. Just so we have a good frame of reference. And so I think that's really brave and certainly innovative to start your own business, certainly based on what you were seeing were the trending. Now, if we go back in your past, now I know you had quite a successful career as a Japanese pop star in your younger years. So I'd love it if you could share a little bit about that with us, kind of how it came to be. I know it's very unique. What led to that, and kind of maybe what was the fun part about it?
Well, I don't often tell the story, so thank you for the opportunity for letting me share it. So I ended up studying Japanese in university at the University of Victoria. I took Japanese because I loved languages, and I was originally planning to take writing, but that didn't work out for me. So I switched my major to Pacific and Asian Studies with a concentration in Japanese, partly because of my teacher. I loved my sensei. It was actually business Japanese that I started taking in university that got me interested. And I just loved the dynamics of the class and her. And that got me interested in Japan. So during I guess my second year in university, I applied for a scholarship to study at a Japanese school, and I got the scholarship to study at Doshisha Women's College in Kyoto, Japan. So I studied there for a semester, and that was my first time in Japan. I lived in a homestay, and definitely it was a big adjustment in so many ways. But one of the things that I fell in love with was Japanese pop music, J-pop, and also I loved karaoke. Right, once I discovered karaoke, I wanted to sing like Japanese people do at karaoke. And so, I kind of became a little bit obsessed with it, just studying songs, Japanese songs. And so that was my first time in Japan. And then I ended up going back a few more times after that, teaching English. But it was when I was back here in Canada that one of my sister's friends, and you might know him, Brad Smart, he was working in Ireland at the time for like a media company. And when I had told him about my love of J-pop and such, he just kind of planted the idea, oh wow, you could do really well as like Japanese, singing pop song star. And so, oh, and also, a lot of people equated me to Akage no An, which is Anne of Green Gables.
Yes, because for those who will see Kim's picture, she is a redhead, just like me. So certainly Japanese have a love of Anna Green Gables. So perfect fit.
Yeah. So it's, so then he kind of planted that seed, and he was in Ireland at the time. And he ended up reaching out to me again after that and just saying, that he was serious about it, and that he had talked to his boss, somebody at his company at the time, and they were serious about it. And so what they did was they flew me to Ireland to record my song. So what I had done was I had written lyrics in Japanese to my songs, to some songs, and then Brad, he put together the music for the songs. And so, you know what? It turned out I wasn't necessarily the best singer, but poor Brad didn't discover that until I was actually in Ireland. But but anyway, so we got there, and we were kind of picturing me going like big time, like recording me coming off the plane and like recording in the studio and everything like that. But it didn't necessarily work out that way. But we did record songs. I was in Ireland. We recorded the song. Brad's partner Michelle, or wife Michelle, she helped us in Ireland. We recorded a video and everything. And then I came back to Canada, and it turned out like after some time went by that they couldn't support they didn't have the resources to continue it. So what I did was I took the CD, the CD at the time, and I quit my job and I went to Japan like for my third time or so, and just thinking somehow I was going to become a pop star with my with my songs. So, from there, it was lots of interesting things happened. I tried out for like a Hawaiian band. I sang on stage with the Hawaiian band. I was getting desperate because I didn't have the contacts that I needed to make myself go really big. I sent it to I sent it everywhere, Sony Music, all these places, but I had no contacts. So I tried out for a few different TV shows, lots of exciting stuff. So anyway, I ended up meeting a producer director there, and he actually filmed a music video for me to one of my songs. So that was kind of the closure to my adventure. And then I eventually had to come back here to Canada. But it was an amazing experience because it was filled with extraordinary failures, Tracy. Like I mean, levels I had never even imagined possible. And you have to understand also that I used to be a lot heavier than I am now. And so I spent many years really struggling with self-confidence and still do on many levels. But this, for me, going to Japan to become a pop star, even though I had lost all of the weight by then, I still was sort of reverting back in my head that I wasn't, good enough, and, struggling with self-esteem on many levels. So my adventure to Japan and coming back, it was horrible because people thought that I was going to Japan and they thought I was going to be big time, right? They asked, oh, could I get them into the concerts and everything? So I had to come back and just say, it didn't really work out. I had the music video, but didn't really share it. And so that's what happened. But it had taught me a lot in resilience and has made me have a thicker skin, so to say.
And that was going to lead me to my next question, because you've certainly had so many adventures and you've had success on so many different levels at your young age thus far. And so when you think about it, what are probably your top 3 success factors or the themes that kind of keep showing up? Like certainly resilience is one of those, based on everything you said, like having that resilient mindset, but also having the courage to kind of go off to these foreign places where you're trying things you don't know how to do. So that's brave.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think also a big part of, well, really what I do now is really to give back and to help others. So I think along the way, whether that was me living in Japan and meeting super kind people who helped me out of really difficult situations, or people who have supported me now with my business, I have this really intense feeling of giving back, and that's when I know at this point in my career, that's what matters most to me, is that I can make a difference and impact people's lives.
Excellent. And I think that's always wonderful. And certainly that's a value I share with you. And we recently launched the Young Money Scholarship, and the winners are just phenomenal. And part of the application process is how have you helped someone else accomplish one of their goals? So making that difference. So yeah, you're fully aligned with us, Kim. And so I'm so glad you're here with us today. When you think about big financial challenge or something wish you'd known a little bit earlier in your life about money, what has that been? And it can be anything either from your personal life or even with you starting your business.
Yeah, I guess it was the second time I went to Japan. I worked a lot. I worked for a company called Nova, and I didn't find out till later when I started working for them. Everyone nicknamed them No Vacation Nova, and so I was teaching ESL, English as a second language, 7 days a week, and holidays and all of that, getting a little bit too into work. But I came back after that trip and I had saved a lot of money. I saved as in I brought back a lot of money in my money belt. And, because I remember I had all of this Japanese yen, and, I wish at that moment that I had just put all of that away. And I didn't spend frivolously. I never have. I've always been a saver, but I wish I had looked into what, my options for that stack of Japanese yen that I had at the time. And I didn't. I just put it in a regular, I think, savings account. And then, so just knowing my options a little bit more back then would have been a smart idea.
Excellent. Because even if it wasn't tons of money, you could have had the benefit potentially of compound interest and growth and just having it work a little bit more for you. So that's great. I really appreciate the candor with which you shared that. Sometimes it's hard to share those kinds of things. Do you commingle your personal or business expenses? Do you run your business from your bank account or defer to your bookkeeper or accountant for financial matters? If you do one or all of these things, the live Biz Money Mistakes Masterclass, Top 3 Mistakes to Avoid and How to Take Control of Your Business is for you. This live training has been specifically designed for entrepreneurs with sales in the 6 to 7 figure range who want to proactively change the way they are handling their money matters and navigate the current environment with success. So if you are an entrepreneur with sales at these levels and want to make informed, powerful money decisions, you do not want to miss this important class. Head over to the show notes, check out the link. It's bizmoneymistakes.com so you can register today. Stop waiting for things to change, take back control of your business, and join me for the live Biz Money Mistakes Masterclass. Now that you've started your business, which is so exciting with Youth Culture Inc., are there some things that you've learned, either success tips that you can share with the listeners, as well as maybe some missteps to avoid so they can make some new mistakes and potentially learn from you? And so it can be from your experience starting your business or things you've even seen with others as you've observed kind of their journeys.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a really interesting journey for me to start a business because I knew it was going to be a lot of work. And in previous jobs, I have always worked hard and had that hard work ethic, and I've always had to bring in revenue for those previous positions. So I know what that's like, but doing it, being the sole person responsible for that is a totally different ball game, really. And, with new stresses. And so I think, again, I knew it was going to be hard work, but I don't think I knew like to what level of stress that would be, especially during COVID. And one of the biggest things I think I've learned in the last few months is, sometimes you just got to shut down the TV and the media, social media, all of that, because the more you hear that it's an economic downturn, which obviously, I realize that it kind of makes you lose hope. And for me, that's the last thing I can have right now is me with my own business losing hope. So I find that in order for me to focus, which is absolutely critical right now and will be as we go into the new year, I need to really minimize negative forces that are happening, whether that's, to my self-confidence or just horror stories about business going down, because that's not going to help me in the end. And to be honest, in opportunities like this, like a pandemic, there are opportunities, and you just got to find those opportunities, and you have to be able to pivot and be open to learning new things in order to pivot. And I've always believed in my career that is, super important. In order for us all to stay relevant, we need to be able to learn, have that continuous learning, and then also be able to pivot throughout our lives anyway.
I couldn't agree more. And certainly I've had that experience as well with my business. And I do a lot of work with entrepreneurs. And while there is a lot of negativity in the news, there's certainly some sectors that have been impacted more than others. But I've been working with some clients who are in sectors that are doing extremely well. They've grown their businesses. They've been able to look for those opportunities, as you said, and pivot due to their kind of noticing of the trends and kind of going and filling a gap that's in the market. So it's not all doom and gloom. And I totally agree with, as you said, you've got to have focus and you've got to minimize the things that are going to take away from your focus. So whatever that is for you, because everybody's got their own things that can distract them. So that's wonderful. Anything else that comes to mind?
I would say for me that is those are probably the biggest points right now.
Excellent. And just kind of leveraging on what you said earlier, your spirit and this intense feeling of wanting to give back and help others. That's been a theme throughout your life. As you've received the help, you kind of pay it forward. And certainly in entrepreneurship, that's a really important tenet. You got to continue to do that, because as you help others find opportunities, they're going to help you and just keep you in mind. So when you think about inspiration from a financial standpoint, who inspires you when it comes to financial matters? And it can be somebody we all know, or it can be somebody very personal to you in your life.
Well, I think most of us know my sister, Tracy, Tracy Cooper. He inspires me with, I mean, the amount of knowledge that she has. And I know that you both went to the same program, same school. So, it just astounds me the vast amount of knowledge that she has when, talking about her job now or just stocks or any sort of question that you have. She's sort of a go-to person for me. Who else? I think there has been a lot of people. My dad has always had a really hard work ethic as well. Worked hard and felt passionately about saving money, and so I learned a lot from him along the way as well. So I think the ones closest to me are them. Of course, I love listening to different sort of podcasts or inspirational documentaries and stuff. I mean, Tony Robbins is always a good one for me to watch. I enjoy that. Sometimes some of the financial shows on Bloomberg and stuff. I love watching. I love watching any sort of documentary about a leader. Could be a financial leader, could be in any sort of industry. I love that kind of stuff because you learn so much from hearing other people's stories.
Absolutely. And oftentimes people attribute their success to something that happened overnight. And when you get into those stories, you see all of the hours and the years of hard work that went into becoming that success, which I think is inspiring, because you can see that when you commit to a plan of action that you know is going to work, you just got to stay with it. And eventually the good stuff comes.
Right. Is that the case with you?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly feel like working hard is really important. I totally agree with what you said, though, about continuing to scan the trending and what's happening so you can stay relevant. And as things continue, we're all going to have to do that, because the way things are is not the way they're going to continue to be. But if you can learn skills and be valuable and provide insight to people and value in different ways, then you're always going to be set up for success, I think. So it's when you start kind of staying in your own little world and not paying attention to the other stuff, where I think then that becomes harder for you to keep up and to learn those things. And the things that I've learned with my business, certainly in technology, are astounding. I know, who would imagine I would become a podcaster? So that's just one example.
It's true.
I used to know like three things really well when I was an executive at TD Bank. So I've certainly expanded my horizons, and all the better for it, which I think is good. And it makes things fun.
Yeah.
Now, before I let you go, are there any final pieces of advice or insights you want to leave the Young Money listeners with today?
Yeah, I think being vulnerable and putting yourself out there is really more important than ever these days. And I've struggled to do that over the years, especially as time goes on. You get older and you may be entering different stages of your life where you don't put yourself out there. And I think, Tracy, you're really good at this. I mean, you're everywhere on my social media. You're honestly, you are. Um, and it's wonderful that you are, and you know what, I love that you normalized it, right? You put yourself out there on different social media platforms, and then it's normalized that, okay, your updates are coming up. And for some of us that is difficult to do. Either it's making those habits is difficult to do, or just getting past those insecurities. So I think the sooner that you're able to do that and move forward, just being comfortable with yourself, and not it's not even necessarily promoting yourself, it's just sharing what you do and how you want to help others. The more we can get comfortable with that, the more we can reach our true potential. So I would recommend to everyone, getting past our insecurities is definitely very key. And then like I was talking about before with resilience, we're going to meet a lot of people along the way that are not going to be positive forces in our lives. And so we need to find creative resilience and coping methods to really either use those experiences to drive us even further to the kinds of success that we need. So building that resilience is really key, and being surrounded by a supportive network. And if you're not surrounded by those positive forces now, seeking them out, or maybe you are surrounded by them but don't fully realize the potential they could have on you. So finding that support network is also so key.
Yeah, I totally agree. Thank you very much for the compliment. I mean, it was hard at first to be out there on social media all the time. And it's, if you have a business though, that's what you do need to do if you want to reach people. And so you get over very quickly, oh, okay, this picture is not the best, but I'm going to use it because I got to get out there. I can't wait till I have a perfect post or a perfect picture. And just as you said, though, then people get used to, okay, here's her update, which is wonderful. When I left the bank, it was certainly very important to find additional people in my network who are going to do the same thing as I was, to have that support. And so if you are making a transition in your life as you are right now, so important to make sure you've got people who can go on the forward journey with you too. It doesn't mean you're leaving the other ones, but you're just adding so that you have support in all the areas that you need, which I think is important. And for everybody listening, no matter whether you're in school, you're working in a career, you have your own business, being resilient and building that and developing those coping skills is absolutely critical so you can tackle anything that really comes your way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Kim, what are you working on right now, and where can listeners go to learn more about you?
Yeah, so you can check out Youth Culture, youthculture.com, and we're LinkedIn and Instagram. Instagram is Youth Culture Inc. And working on some really exciting stuff, actually. We just put on a virtual workshop this weekend. We had about 50 students there. It was presented by TD, and we had some really inspiring guest speakers. And so we're going to have more of those events coming up, and in various sectors. So advanced manufacturing is one, automation and robotics, lots of sort of future skills, future industry type events happening. And then back about 5 months ago, I launched a COVID-19 youth impact survey. That was phase one of the survey. So we're just entering phase two, tracking the impacts that it is having on some students, and how those effects and impacts are sort of evolving and changing as this goes on, since we'll be 1 year in March that
I know, it's hard to believe.
thing. Yeah. So lots of interesting initiatives coming up and exciting stuff. I'm working with incredible youth team, and they inspire me every day. They're from diverse backgrounds and interested in different careers, not only STEM, but arts and film. And so I get to learn a lot from them. And of course, from my nephew, right, who you've met many times, who studies so hard. And he's in public admin. So learning a lot from him too.
He's a character. So for those who want to learn more about Ryan Banfield, I'll put the links to him in the show notes too, because he's pretty entertaining in his interviews. We've enjoyed him. So thank you so much, Kim. I really appreciate you coming on and joining me today. I love that we got the exclusive on the Japanese pop star experience. I've always loved that story, and we always have a good laugh about that. But there's so many great things that come out of it. Your resilience really showcases your courage and your bravery and how you wanted to make a difference. I also loved what you shared about what you've been learning as you go on to launch your own business and really focusing on what's important and looking for those opportunities. Really inspiring how you shared about your sister Tracy and your dad with that financial inspiration and how you go to them, but you've also got those other resources that you go to as well. Love those final pieces of advice around being resilient, building out that supportive network, really being vulnerable, because I think that is the key. I mean, we don't want to go too far, but we certainly want to be human, and it's okay to be human. And I think that's a great message. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks, Tracy. Thanks so much.
You are welcome. So there you have it, listeners. Kim Cooper, founder of Youth Culture Inc. Until next time, take good care and stay financially fit. Hey, thanks for tuning in. To all you millionaires in the making out there, if you love this podcast, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts to keep your financial fitness training going. Oh, and leave us a review. And be sure to visit 2S's2T's, financialfitness.com to take your free financial fitness assessment. Find out how financially fit you really are. See you next week, millionaires to be.